David wasn't special. He didn't have money, fame, or a big dream. He woke up every day, delivered food, and came home to silence. No one knew his name. No one cared if he smiled or cried. He moved through life like a ghost, invisible to the world. But one cold night, standing in the rain with an empty stomach, he saw someone more forgotten than him, a homeless man shivering alone. People passed by without even looking. David paused. What he did next seemed small, but that one act would rewrite his entire future. He had no idea a stranger was watching, and that silent choice, made in a moment of hunger, was about to become the greatest turning point of his life. David lived in a small apartment that felt more like a storage room than a home. Every morning he left before sunrise and returned after dark, exhausted and unnoticed. His phone never rang. His mailbox stayed empty. He had no dreams left, just survival. People around him rushed through life, never seeing him. Still, David held on to one thing, his ability to feel. He noticed things others ignored. One night, after a long shift, he saw an old man sitting barefoot in the cold, eyes full of silent pain. Something inside David refused to walk past. He gave away his only meal. He didn't know this moment would return to him, not as a thank you, but as a complete transformation. David didn't live, he survived. Every day was the same. He rode an old bicycle through busy streets, delivering food with frozen hands and an empty stomach. His jacket was too thin for the winter wind, and his shoes were tearing apart, but he couldn't afford new ones. His body ached, but he kept moving. He ate only once a day, saving whatever little he earned for rent. People barely looked at him. He spoke to no one and trusted no one. But deep inside, he still believed the world could be good. He didn't know that his silent kindness would soon be noticed by someone powerful, someone who would turn his broken days into something greater than he had ever imagined. That night was colder than usual. Rain fell hard as David pedaled home, clothes soaked, hands shaking. His stomach growled, but he kept going. At the corner of 9th Street, under a flickering streetlight, he saw an old man sitting against a wall, drenched and barefoot. People walked past without a glance. David slowed down. His eyes met the old man's, tired, empty, defeated. David reached into his bag and pulled out the only meal he had. Without a word, he handed it over. The man whispered, "Thank you," voice trembling. David nodded and turned away. Across the street, under an umbrella, a stranger watched it all. David didn't see him. He just kept walking, unaware his life had just shifted. 3 weeks later, David's phone rang while he was resting between deliveries. The number was unknown. Hesitantly, he answered. A calm voice said, "Mr. David, we need you to visit our office. It's about a will." Confused, he thought it was a scam, but something in the voice felt real. He went the next morning. The lawyer greeted him and handed him a sealed envelope. "A man you helped recently left this for you," he said. David opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter from the old homeless man. "Your kindness reminded me of who I used to be," it read. David was speechless. He thought that moment had passed, but the world had remembered what he gave. David walked home with the letter pressed to his chest. The lawyer had also given him a small box left by the old man. Inside were dusty books, a notebook, and a worn-out manuscript. Curious, David flipped through the pages. It was a novel, handwritten, deep, and powerful. At the end was a photo of the old man with a caption, "Edward Hale, best-selling author, 1987. David's eyes widened. The man he fed was once famous. The manuscript was never published. David felt something inside shift. The world had ignored this man, but his words deserved to live. David took it to a small publisher. He didn't ask for anything. He just wanted the story to be heard, finally and fully. Months passed. The publisher called back. The book was accepted. A few weeks later, it went viral. Edward Hale's forgotten words touched millions. News outlets covered the story of a kind stranger who brought a lost voice back to life. But David stayed out of the spotlight. He didn't want money or fame. He asked that all profits go to shelters for the homeless. One morning, a luxury car stopped outside his building. A famous author stepped out. "I read the story," he said. "We need people like you." He offered David a job, managing a foundation that supports struggling writers. For the first time, David smiled with purpose. His one act of kindness had come back, not as luck, but destiny. David never chased success. He never asked for more than he gave. But life was quietly watching. His kindness, offered in silence, without expectation, had echoed louder than he ever imagined. The man he fed had nothing, yet left him everything. That moment in the rain, which seemed small, became the door to a new life. David learned that real change doesn't need noise. It just needs heart. What you do when no one is watching defines who you truly are. His story reminds us that even in our darkest days, one selfless act can turn a forgotten life into something unforgettable.